we give our time to Lily for free because we're promoting the idea of using sustainable materials. So there's always people that they can recommend and things like that to you, I think. So
what I really need is somebody who is impartial.
Architecture and the reputation of architects struggled quite a lot during the 1960s and the 1970s. I think architects maybe did a few things that they might have regretted. And I think one tragic thing about a short-term way of looking at architecture is that some living architects are seeing their buildings be demolished now as we speak, albeit some of those guys might be in their 60s and 70s. But I think to be a living architect and see your building be demolished must be one of the most awful things to watch when you've put blood, sweat and tears into them. Fortunately, that's happening an awful lot with buildings that were built in the 60s. There's an architect called Owen Luder, who used to be president of the RIBA, and a very, very good architect in fairness to him. He's just had a number of his buildings knocked down, like Gates and multi-storey car park and quite iconic structures. So I think there's big questions being asked in this current day and age about how we build and how well we build and how long we're building for. And I think one thing that's great about restoration, it was interesting when I was asked to make the series actually, we came up with the idea of how we could do a new property series, if you like. You've got Grand Designs doing predominantly new build. I mean, I know you touch on refurbishment and little bits of restoration as well. And then you've got Kirsty and Phil being estate agents. You've got all the Sarah Meany doing property development. She hasn't worked for a while. No money can be made. And I said, well, why don't we do something about old buildings? And everyone kind of looked at me and they said, well, you're a kind of young architect doing modern structures all over Britain, and you're not doing many listed builds. Where the hell does that come from? And I was like, that's ridiculous. I love old buildings. Old buildings have got great stories. They've got fantastic character. They're built for a particular age, but surely we can reinvent them in a new and an exciting way. And I thought the series would do all right, and it's just done, thank God, it's done amazingly well, because so many people have just written in saying, thank God you saved that building, thank God that you managed to turn a building that was built for a different purpose, because most of the projects we have are either religious or industrial buildings or agricultural or military buildings, built for a completely different use. And what I've tried to do in that series is show that restoration can be exciting. It doesn't have to be dull, boring and dusty. It can be innovative, it can be highly technological, but it's also saving buildings of our history. And I think if there's one thing that we've got in this country, is an amazing array of fantastic buildings, from coastal properties to rural properties, absolutely amazing structures. And I think we realised that we lost a huge amount actually through the 20th century. And I'm not against new build, I'm not against new build houses. I think we've got to do both. But I think it seems a real shame to me that we've got beautiful old buildings, many of them sitting there abandoned and derelict and empty. And we've got one particular project that this one's going to talk about, which was intended as a house, built in the 16s, very early 17th century manor house, and very, very sensitively being restored. I'd like to step up to the plate, sir.
Yeah, I've just got a few slides to show you really of a quite interesting restoration of this timber frame barn in Sutton Courtenay, Oxfordshire, and a couple of little videos as well. So as you can see, it's a timber frame. This one's elm. It's on a green sandstone rubble wall to the ground floor. At some point in its history, probably about 50 years ago or so, it's been the wattle and daub or lard and plaster that would have been there in the infill panels has been replaced with a cement render on a mixture of chicken wire and timber lath. Trouble with cement in these old buildings is that cement isn't flexible, it's not vapor permeable. So as this elm frame sort of moves, as the timber frames do, it tends to crack the cement render, water gets in, water can't get out because it's not vapor permeable, and it starts to rot the frame. A couple of problems you can see here. The sole plate in the top left picture is covered with the cement render, so it's going to be rotting under there. You can see various damage to the panels in other areas as well. And I would hazard a guess that this had more damage done to it in the 50 years with cement on it than it had done in the previous 450 years with lime on it. So stage one, remove all the panels. There was literally no original panelling left in there, so all the cement came out. Stage two, repair the frame. It was an elm frame. Couldn't get any elm big enough from this country to repair it, so it was repaired in oak. That's a plan view looking at part of the sole plate where they spliced in a new section of sole plate. And it was a specialist timber framers who came in to do this. They literally only replaced what they had to.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
We're replacing the infill panels with hempcrete. So I don't know if any of you will know about, but it's a mixture of hemp and lime. So it's the hemp stems, which is waste from the textile industry, chopped up and mixed with a lime binder to make a sort of eco-concrete, if you like, although it's non-structural. So what we had to do first was put in a little softwood timber frame which will sit inside the panels as a key for the hempcrete. Next we shuttered the whole of the outside of one wall at a time with just chipboard flooring that we reuse quite a lot for shuttering. And that's it viewed from the inside. So then we take shuttering up in layers. So we'll put a board across here first, we'll mix up our hemp and lime, and we'll pour it in and tamp it down, take the board up, 20 minutes later, pour it in, tamp it down, take it up till we got to the top, and at the top we'll just stuff it in at the top layer. It's not liquid, it's a bit like a paper mache, so you don't have to be too careful with gaps, etc. I think, we mixed it all in these two normal cement mixers. You can see these are bales of hemp. There's a bucket hempcrete in the corner there. We couldn't use too big a volume at any one time because it was so fiddly, which is why we only just bought two little mixers to mix it in. Normally on a great big build we'd be using great big pan mixers and tractors, etc.
So it's exactly the same as when I talked about Owen Luder and his concrete buildings, and they did shuttering concrete, so they build a big shuttering out of whatever, chipboard or ply, and they'd literally just pour concrete in, whack it down, wait till it cured and do the next section. So it's a full-on ecological, sustainable version of that.
Exactly, yeah. And there's a video of it here, throwing it in. It's
throwing it in. Look at that. I mean, that's nothing delicate about that, is there? You don't really think about restoration being really gentle art, and you're just going like that, chucking it.
But the beauty with this build is you're not having to cut anything to all the different shapes of the panels. It's literally forming the shape there. That's Dan. He's having a great time.
Where do you get all the hemp from? I know you said it comes from.
The hemp.
Where do you actually source
this hemp's from Nick Bose, farmer in Hull, who grows lots of hemp in Hull. There's other places in the UK you can get it. They grow it in Norfolk, Chesham, near Hemel Hempstead, which is where they used to historically grow hemp.
And you just call up and say, "Can I have some hemp, please?" And it just gets
I just
delivered
ring
to
Nick, send me some hemp, and he delivers me the hemp. Yeah. I mean, the only other thing they use it for is horse bedding.
Yeah.
So other than this, it's a waste material of the textile industry, just like straw for horse bedding. So yeah, then we take the shuttering off. This is with the binder we're using. This is like 20 minutes after we've done it, we take the shuttering off. We tried a lot of different binders, different types of lime binder, sort of 6 months previous to doing it to see which one worked best. The one we came up with is called Prompt. It's a French lime and it sets very, very quickly. So there's very little shrinkage. With other limes that took longer to set, you'd get shrinkage away from the timber and you'd have an air gap all the way around. But this stuff, we have to put a citric acid stabiliser in to stop it. It's going off too quickly, because if you don't put that in, it'll go off in 5 minutes.
Has it got any thermal qualities as well?
Oh, hempcrete's very insulative,
It's really,
it's really insulative, yeah. So 200 mil of it will pass building regs. Here, some of the timbers were only 100 mil, so we set the shuttering out further, as you can see here, so to get a bigger thickness. And the problem with that, obviously, you've got the hempcrete covering the timbers, so then we scratch it back. You can literally, and there's a float of nails on. You can scratch it to whatever shape you want. Yeah.
So you literally just feather it into the timber?
And just scratch it back, feather it in, yeah. Nothing technical about it, it's just like sculpting. And it gives you a really nice shape to the panels as well.
How durable is it? How long will that last as a material, do you think?
Well, it was in France in the 50s when they started using it for this exact purpose. There's a lot of hemp in France, they still use a lot of lime. So I guess they were coming up with some way of filling their infill panels with something other than wattle and daub. And that's how it all started.
And 60 years on, it's still fine.
Yeah, and people say to me, with all these natural building materials, straw and carbon, they say, well, it's not going to last. And I say, well, what are the oldest buildings in the country made from? You can tell me.
Timber,
Cob,
straw,
which is clay,
yeah.
straw, sand, mud, and they're the oldest buildings in the country. Thatched roofs. So why would this not last any longer? Obviously with a lime render on the outside, and you maintain it, there's no reason it wouldn't last as long as all these other things. So there's the gable section all scratched back, and the front side. It's just showing you can make any shape with it. So, I mean, imagine trying to cut some sort of insulation panel to those sort of shapes and getting it airtight. I just can't think of another thing that would have done it. And then we've got the base coat line render going on over there, and this with the top coat. And then the finish on that is a lime wash finish. And there you can see the finished panels. And then after that, we had the stonework to repair, which you see there. And this was a classic, let's just repoint the wall, and then it all starts falling down as soon as you start taking the old pointing out. So you can see, you can start uncovering where old windows used to be.
So in terms of the hempcrete, so it's an infill system,
yeah.
And it's then has it got a lime-based paint on the outside, a weatherproof paint on the outside of the hempcrete straight on that face, or is it rendered?
There's a lime render.
There's a lime render, and it bonds straight on, absolutely straight onto the face of the hempcrete.
That lime render there is there's a base coat gone straight onto the straight onto the hempcrete. I mean, hempcrete is really nice to render onto, to plaster onto. It's a really nice background. See, the thing that people always, with lime, you've always got to be wetting it, keeping it wet whilst it's drying.
Yeah.
But with hempcrete, the hemp in there, when you wet it down once, the hemp absorbs the water, and so when you plaster onto it, it's really nice to plaster onto, and you don't have to keep wetting it, because the hemp is going to slowly let that moisture out to the render, and you don't have to keep coming back and wetting it, which is a real pain in most refurbishments. If you're going onto a really dry stone wall with a lime render, you've got to keep coming back and wetting it. It's not the same with it.
So sorry, I'm getting really into this now. So this has got a lime render on the outside,
yeah.
The hemp in between, and then has it got a lime plaster on the inside face? Inside face, outside face is lime,
yeah.
plaster and render,
yeah.
The hempcrete in between.
And it's the same,
else.
and you can use the same lime throughout, just with different aggregates. So the hemp's a different aggregate, then a sharp sand for the external aggregate, and then a fine sand for the internal aggregate. So it's almost homogeneous, you know.
So it's a fully breathable, fully waterproof, easy to install system.
Yep.
That lasts God knows how many hundreds of years, and it's fully
Yep.
ecological.
Yep.
There
And
are no trendy gadgets, no trendy insulation, no ventilation gaps. That's it.
And it took us 5 people, 11 days to put all that hempcrete in. So I think that's.
And it looks great.
Yeah. And you're locking carbon up in the building there. So you know all these carbon factories, they're trying to suck carbon out of the air and hold them in the ground, and it's like, well, why not just build houses out of hemp and straw, and it's this carbon store as well, so you're carbon negative. I think there's 15 cubic metres of hempcrete in there, which is about almost hang on. It's 110 kilograms of carbon per cubic metre, so work that out, 2,000 kilograms of carbon saved there or something like that.
Can you eat it as well? Is it like shredded wheat? You can tell me else.
You can't eat it. People spread it on their face though, don't they? Hemp products. You can make moisturiser
You
and
like
all
beauty
sorts of
products
it.
as well. Chisel it off.
Yeah. I'll just finish this up.
Sorry, I keep interrupting all the time.
So yeah, so this was repairing the stonework. You tend to find all the old windows and stuff like that as you're going. So again, a lime mortar went in here with the most local sound we could find, which was a really good mix to what came out. Really good match. Except what came out had bigger bits of flint in, so we kept them back and put them back in with the new mix to match it even better. Once the stonework's been repaired. Inside, there was a lot of work downstairs to repair the inside stone walls, the plastering. Our approach here was to keep as much, there was all different types on the wall. There was gypsum, cement, plaster. Our approach was to take off anything that was damaging, any cement that was likely to be damaging the wall, but leave everything else that was stable or would stay there. And then we repaired where the bricks were missing and some of the bigger holes with a lime mortar. And then we did we had to make up a couple of inches here. It was that thick on the inside. So we used a lime plaster that we mixed up ourselves with hemp fibre, like you use horsehair. You can also buy the fine hemp. So when they make the hempcrete, they blow out all the dust, and from that you get the fine fibres, which you can put in your plaster. It means instead of only being able to do 10 mil at a time, we can do 25 mil in one go. So we did 2 coats of that, which took us to there. And then we did a shelter coat of lime putty plaster. So it comes ready mixed in a bucket. We watered it down and painted on a coat to stabilise it. And then we painted on thicker and thicker and thicker coats, 4 coats. And we finished with a sponge float, which means we get a flat, smooth surface, but we don't get crisp, harsh lines. It still looks like an old stone wall that's been rendered. And this is a plaster extraordinaire, Rebecca. And that's the finished window reveal there. So you can see it's smooth and it's flat, but it's not sharp and crisp. And that's the finish. This was a workshop previously. All the timber panelling has been restored. Original floors, all the beams have been sanded and just sanded actually, just white brushed. The staircase was all restored. The staircase in fact is out of the manor house where this is. It predates the building. These are just a few before and after pictures of the upstairs for you. Again, internal walls we use hempcrete as well, just to keep the same look throughout. Glass balustrades, because the old ones there, they're not historical, they're 10 years old or something, weren't really doing the job, and they were quite keen to use glass, just to not introduce any more wood, different types of timber to the building, just use glass as if it's not even there.
It looks really cosy on that picture. It's like you've just stuffed pillows in between the timber frame. It's not like squidgy, it's brilliant.
It's ridiculously warm in there once you get the heaters in there, and it stays warm there.
Fantastic.
Before and after of the upstairs, again a glass balustrade. Quite interesting, the staircase, the newel post, the staircase, 4 of them, we used beams from the building that were taken out because they were too rotten. Because there was no staircase there, we used them to make the staircase, which again was made from old church pews, just to try and keep with an old, didn't want to introduce any new timber except for the floor, which all had to be new. Upstairs, the openings here in the upstairs rooms were so nice, they couldn't justify putting doors in. So it was literally just curtains across. The boarding, actually, the boarding, plaster boarding on the eaves is a natural wood wall board, which we can cut and bend to look like the hempcrete. So we couldn't do hempcrete in the roof because the roof was already on, but we wanted to make it look like hempcrete. It doesn't really show it there, but they're quite curved and bent, those boards as well. And that's the last slide of us. Lime rendering the base coat, Heather and I think that was December the 15th last year. So luckily, we did all of this from November the 5th, finished on December the 21st. So we were very lucky with the really mild winter.
That's unbelievable. Would have been a nightmare. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Lily as well at lowimpact.org and
Yeah.
what the guys are doing over there? Because it's fantastic work.
So I'm here with Lily. I take the Hempcrete course for Lily, Low Impact Living Initiative.
Yeah, Lily's not a woman, by the way. I'm here with Lily, which is over there.
So it's lowimpact.org, and we teach people how to do all sorts of sustainable things, straw building, making soaps. I teach people to hemp build with clay plasterers, lime plasterers, all sorts of things. We're over there. We give you free information. We're not selling you anything. We're just going to tell you how to use natural products in the right place with the right buildings. We've got lots of different types of insulation we can show you, and there's some hemp building, straw building, and oak framing, clay plastering, all sorts of things to look at over
And
there.
you should sign up for the e-letter as well, because they'll send you regular stuff about what they're doing. Because all of this stuff, it seems so often that people think, oh, well, I've got to be doing a really, really old building somewhere. But you kind of think, well, even if you're doing a modern building, why can't you use hempcrete? Why can't you? It's not just about being, just because it's out of natural material doesn't mean it has to be traditional. You know, it can be used in a new and an inventive way as well. So after you get bored of me rambling on, go and see the guys over there, because it's far more exciting than I can talk about.
And you're going to do your book signing over there as well, aren't you?
Yeah, we're going to drag books over and do that. So we're going to do books at the end, so you've got no excuse to not come over and say hello.
I'll come
Thanks very
and
much.
sit down.
We're going to do my book signing over there, so we're going to move it.
Thank